All right, here we go. Coast to Coast Combat Hour for Tuesday, February 2nd. First one of February. Ed Carbajal here, as always, with Matthew Hawkins. This is the Coast to Coast Combat Hour brought to you by AllAccessMMA.com. Make sure you check out All Access MMA for all the MMA news coming, especially this week with the UFC's return to the Apex. And we got some bare knuckle on Friday. The fights are coming back, Matt. So we might as well start getting ready to rev up the show again here.
Yeah, exactly. UFC returns after a little bit of a what was it, 2 weeks off or something like that, and then BKFC makes their return from what was it? December was their last show. So
Yeah.
yeah, no, it's got forward to look forward to that. This past weekend, we didn't have a whole lot of action. I was the lucky recipient of a free stream of Glory 77. So I caught that. That was kind of cool to go back and relive some of the kickboxing stuff that I hadn't kind of fallen back on a little bit. It's died out a tad here in the United States. And obviously with COVID, there's no Glory USA shows. Everything is on the other side of the world. But on that event, Rico Verhoeven, who was the heavyweight champion, had his initial title fight with Jamal bin Sadiq canceled. He, as a true champion, on last minute notice, basically jumped into their 4-man Grand Prix and walked his way through that. So finishing with a first round knockout in the final. Verhoeven, absolute animal. He's flirted with the idea of coming to MMA. Would be one of those guys that, if learned takedown defense, could definitely cause some problems, especially with the way he fights. He uses his length real well. I'm not sure how familiar you are with him. I think you've seen him fight a few times, but
yeah,
tremendous length and strength, and just huge fight IQ as well. So that was the kind of the highlight there. Cedric Doumbé won his title over Groenhart, defended his title, second round knockout. Those are really the big highlights, along with Tiffany Van Soest returned to Glory, and she also defended her title. So fun night of action. I enjoyed watching kickboxing. I just don't get to watch it, especially heavyweight kickboxing. I feel like that's something that almost of the past, but cool to see Glory have a huge card. Kind of sucked to watch an event though in the Netherlands with no crowd. That's I still haven't gotten used to that. We've been doing this for a year now almost, and I don't know about you, but it felt nice to see some fans at the UFC event a couple weeks back.
Yeah, no, I definitely liked hearing the cheers again. I mean, the way that the Apex and stuff is set up, and maybe some of those Fight Island cards, maybe the noise from the corner made up for it, but it was definitely a welcome. Even Dana White couldn't hide his joy of having fans back as much as he would rather sell out an arena. I think that I don't think he said he changed his mind on that yet, but we know he changes his mind all the time. But I know they're doing something for 259, right? To get fans in like a contest or something.
Yeah, it's a contest only for 2 fans. So they're going to draw one name, and somebody will be lucky enough to get to attend that. That's a cool fight card, 3 title fights to sit in a small arena like that is really a once in a lifetime experience for whoever the heck.
Yeah, I'm sure you got to make time for all the COVID testing and stuff like that, being part of that bubble. Especially having to be stricter and stuff like that. So that's going to be tough to pull off. But I feel like that's why we're getting a lot of delayed. Like XFC is a pushback about a month. I think there's news out there that Bellator is probably not going to get started until April now. I haven't seen anything official on that yet, but because first I saw the 25th of February, now I'm seeing early April, but which not for nothing, given the goddamn weather out here, because Mohegan Sun is in the Northeast, that would be the safest, but that would be the smarter move for them as far as logistics and getting around, because right now, you can't do jack shit here with this goddamn storm that happened. So.
Yeah, historically,
which is why I'm drinking bourbon on this episode of Coast to Coast Combat Hour. Spent the day shoveling my car. that's
No,
still stuck.
yeah. Historically, you'd be getting ready for like a back-to-back night Bellator in February.
Hmm.
That had kind of become a tradition out there in Connecticut. So
Yep.
I can see why. I think right now everybody feels like things are kind of turning the corner, and now that some fans are starting to be allowed, even if they made it where it was like only vaccinated fans would be allowed, there's going to come a point where we're going to be able to have some fans in arenas. And I think Bellator, which you said, I saw the 9th and the 16th were apparently booked by Bellator. I'm not sure what
Hmm.
arena, but they had locked up those days.
Well, it'd
So
be
that
Mohegan Sun just because that's their bubble. Like, where else they're
yeah,
gonna
yeah, yeah,
go?
yeah. If they're going to stay in the bubble, you're
Yeah.
right. You're right. If the bubble's a thing that's still what we're going to go with, probably. I imagine they'll probably use that through into the summer until they can really start doing it. But I imagine they want to get some fans. I mean, if you look at Bellator, you got their featherweight Grand Prix. I mean, McKee and Pitbull. Um, you're getting to a point where you're going to have some mega fights, and they're just going to want to do it in front of people. So we're seeing the 9th and the 16th for the return of Bellator, which is nice. A little farther off than I would have liked. Also, I believe it uh, was it the 23rd and the 30th for PFL is what the dates are.
April. Yeah.
April. So right now, yeah, between PFL, it's funny too because we were arguing who was going to have what was it Wednesday night, and now they're both booking Friday night shows again. So that seemed to be a short-lived
Yeah.
battle of the weekday,
Which is weird because I thought Thursday was a nice.
Or
I mean,
Thursday was what it was.
yeah, it would have been a nice Thursday. Would have been a nice, and PFL has done Thursdays before, but maybe I mean, who knows what's happening now with all the broadcasting stuff and scheduling and logistics that's going on. Again, I mean, it's a new year, new things going on, and like you said with the vaccinations and stuff. I mean, it sucks that we have to talk about COVID when it comes to things like this, but it literally affects everything we're doing now. So, we'll see. I mean, I just it's weird to me that everything that I've read, including like other things opening up, like in the township here that I live in and stuff, like April seems to be that magic month for some reason. I guess because it's the first quarter. Get through to see how the first quarter goes, and then you know what I mean. Then everyone's going to try to do something again, but again, I mean, here in the Northeast, I don't mind that Bellator would wait until at least the weather is not a factor on top of COVID regulations and safety.
Yeah, no, I mean traveling in the mess that
As
you're in.
I'm here rocking my Bellator hoodie.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you got your hoodie. I wore my Fedor shirt of Glorious Victory because you know I'm not shoveling snow today.
or
But
forever.
forever, it's 73 degrees today, which
Yeah.
is actually it's been colder, but nothing like the chaos that's going on in your part of the country. But PFL, so the PFL 23rd of April, they've released their flyweight. Was it their flyweight and their light? Or I'm sorry, their featherweight and their lightweight
Featherweight.
division,
Yeah.
145 and 155.
Yeah. Let me pull up those names. They have the press release on their website, so I'll pull that up. As they sent out emails this morning, and there were some nice graphics, but I couldn't find that on their website. So here's the names.
So fans watching. So right now the featherweight division includes some names that some might recognize. Tyler Diamond is a name. I believe he was the Contender Series or Ultimate Fighter. Super familiar name. Bubba Jenkins.
Bubba Jenks, yeah, I remember him
Yeah,
from
from
fought in
Bellator and
Bellator. Did the Tippa Fighter. He was a big advocate for Tippa Fighter.
when he was in I think it was RFA at that time.
Mm-hmm.
Shaman Moraes, who's fought in UFC several times. Lance Palmer, the two-time champion, going for his third
His
$1
third
million
mill.
check. So that's some of the big names right there at featherweight, with still 2 spots to be filled. Be interesting to kind of see how that unfolds. The names up there, obviously, there's a coin flip. When you get to the lightweight division, really you got some superstar names.
Mm-hmm.
Aliev, Mercier, Abin Mercier makes his return to Bellator. Clay Collard, who
Been making some waves in boxing, coming back to MMAs. So that's nice
Correct.
to see.
Yeah, Johnny Case made a name for himself in Ryzen. Marcin Held, who was a longtime Bellator
Bellator's
veteran.
leg locker.
Yep. He's been doing a lot of grappling and stuff lately in Polaris and other things. And then obviously the big name on that list is Anthony Pettis. Um, that's a that's a lot of good names in that tournament. I wasn't sure how they were going to deal with Pettis, but there's about 3 or 4 or 5 matchups on there that I'd be happy to see him fight.
Well, it's no secret that I mean, by now everyone knows that the 155-pound division throughout the entire sport of MMA is just like a murderer's row. So all these guys are, I mean, like the names we read off, and Natan Schultz is their champion from previous seasons. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see, and just their format makes it an even playing field. And you see, they have some dates here, with the you were mentioning April 23rd, the 29th. May 6th, June. So they have. It looks like they have their first few events of the season ready to go. I don't see anything about a location, but I would imagine it's someplace, another bubble type of atmosphere, probably some studio somewhere. With the ESPN, I think ESPN headquarters are in Connecticut. I wouldn't be surprised if they try to jump in on that. There's another name for the fight sphere because they used it for basketball and boxing. I forget the other name for it, but who knows? Who knows what they're going to use? But I mean, they definitely have things. They
What
could
was it,
do
like
it.
Bubble Palooza or something like that?
I
Or
forgot what it was. I know. I shared the Mohegan Sun's newsroom article about it earlier today, and it slips my mind. But Bubbleville. That's what they called it.
there it was.
Bubbleville. Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, it's. I don't know why. Let's see if we could. I know because didn't Verdum sign with them too? I'm trying to see if we could see some other weight classes. These are all the featherweights and lightweights. They're probably saving that for another big
Yeah,
press
yeah. I
release.
mean, we got at 170. I'm assuming we're gonna get something with Rory McDonald, and then
Yeah,
yeah, at Verdun at heavyweight. So
yeah. The regulars. What's the Hawaiian kid's name that's slipping my mind? Ray Cooper. I'm pretty sure he's because he's a champion, so he'd be. I know that's one of the things they said. The champions are definitely already like invited back. So he's been a PFL staple. Kind of became one of their names from since they started. So
yeah, no, I
yeah,
mean, so far so good on those rosters. I hope they get started. I'm not sure why we got to go back till April to get it rolling with them, but they're just they're gonna push fate and take a whole year and a half off and see how it unfolds.
yeah. Oh, Andre Harrison. I say, is he back this season? I don't know because he's a featherweight. But I didn't see his name on
He
that
wasn't
list.
listed currently, but there is still two spots to be filled.
Yeah, so maybe they're waiting on him to see what's going on.
Yeah, I mean,
So,
I'm not sure. It's going to be interesting to see how, when it all unfolds, because I don't know what the contracts with all these guys how that's gonna work out. Some of them probably had voided contracts, and I mean, shit's got to be crazy when you don't have anybody fight for a year and a half under your promotion.
we got a question from a viewer watching us live. What's your thought on we were trying not to talk about it, but I guess we got to now. What's your thoughts on Askren versus Jake Paul? I guess we should address it.
Well, his next question is it good or bad for the sport? I think that's an easier question. I have no problem addressing it. We got a world class fighter in Ben Askren and Jake Paul. I know you just agreed that you're going to start calling them the Pauls just to avoid any kind of confusion.
Because I keep
But
confusing them. Yeah, I didn't know there was two.
my initial thought was that Ben Askren's going to get beat up. I don't know anymore. I saw somebody with common sense going, "Hey, he was a world champion wrestler. He was a world champion MMA fighter. The dude's just not going to go in there and lay an egg." I don't know, good or bad for the sport. I don't think it's anything for the sport. Um, I enjoy the entertainment aspect of the sport.
Yeah,
I I like the freak shows. I like Ryzen. I like Crazy Ryzen. I like tag team MMA. I like sumo. I like the crazy stuff. So I might not be the right person to ask when it comes to good or bad for the sport. I think it's irrelevant for the sport. I think it's good for Ben Askren's bank account, and I think that that's really the thing that everybody should focus on, win or lose, is the fact that a dude who went 1-2 in the UFC, had a tough road, is probably going to cash the biggest paycheck that he's ever seen. So
Yeah,
I
and,
think
and I mean, and maybe maybe he'll win. Who knows? I know, people keep commenting on how his striking was never his thing. It was always to set up his wrestling and grind dudes out and grind out victories. We didn't see him at his worst until he got to the UFC, which was post his retirement announcement when he retired. He was like 19-0 when he announced his retirement. Then he came to the UFC, and it's like he got the toughest fights he's ever fought there. Mind you, there's things that came out later, stuff that obviously he needed hip replacement surgery, which he had. But if all those fights, like, he's really going to have to, and I saw he's working with Duke Rufus and stuff for just focusing on boxing. It's not, you can't say it's bad because it's bringing attention. So it's always good for the sport as a business model. And that's one thing that Jake Paul said after the last boxing Triller thing that he did. Right? He was the one that knocked out the same guy. Is this the same guy that knocked out the basketball player?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So one of the things he said was one thing, if it's under the rules of boxing and he can bring more eyeballs to boxing and start kind of making a name for himself as a boxer as he gets more wins or whatever, then he could do something. He could be using whatever gift he has, whatever gift of gab that he has on the internet that has made him such a popular person amongst people younger than myself. Maybe he can use that to help boost combat sports. Maybe not just boxing, because obviously he's fighting a former MMA guy. So maybe if that helps combat sports, I don't think you can say it's bad at all. And I know it's fun to hate on him and stuff like that, but it's something that's in our radars, whether we admit it, like myself, or not. We both knew about it. We haven't talked about it on this show up until now, but it's if to be fair, it is good for the sport and on the business sense when you need and something that needs eyeballs and advertisers and stuff like that.
Well, I think the bad for the sports side comes as everybody's assuming Ben Askren's gonna get his ass whooped, and if you break it down, from what we saw, yeah, that's what you would think just off of the last, what we saw last. I do think that Jake Paul he had no threat from Nate Robinson. So the dude's 1-0 in boxing, I think, and that one fight, like, he didn't get hit, he didn't get extended, it was nowhere a threat. Ben Askren came to the UFC and he got into it with Robbie Lawler, but there was really no stand-up. Lawler dumped him on his head. They, beat the hell out of him on the ground, and then he got caught in a bulldog choke. Masvidal fight lasted 5 seconds. There wasn't a single punch thrown in the fight by either fighter.
Mm-hmm.
And then he fought Damian Maia. And then he fought Damian Maia, who he should outstrike, but Maia has been known to, step up to the game and have decent striking, and he's a super threat of submissions and everything else. So we didn't really see Ben Askren ever have to use any stand-up or even have to try to defend it. With that said, his fights he did have some fights where he had good striking. Now, it was different, dirty striking. A lot of it was with the threat of his wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
But I would assume, and maybe I shouldn't assume in this sport, but I'm going to assume that he's got better head movement and better defense than Nate Robinson. Like, I think that should be something that is a fair assumption. Basketball player versus Bellator and one MMA champion.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to assume that he's going to be able to land some punches on Paul, even if they're not super hard punches. I think that there will be a little bit of I think that Paul's going to have to learn a lot too. And, it's not just going to be a walkthrough. I don't think he just finishes Ben Askren with like he did Nate Robinson. Nate Robinson's going to know, Ben Askren, if anything, will cover up and take a beating, but I don't see him just opening up his chin to get killed.
This last question from up north of 60. How does it change the game of self-promotion moving forward with other fighters? I think either you have the gift of self-promotion or you don't. The thing about combat sports is if you're not good at it, but you're a very good fighter, you don't have to do much to promote yourself. Look, Khabib is not on social media all that often, and all he did was rack up 29 wins, and everybody knows who he is. I mean, we beat the best of the best. So it seems to be a necessary ingredient in marketing yourself. And I know all the fighters we've talked to on this show and the interviews I've done for the various outlets that I contribute to, a lot of them have commented like, that it's something that they know is part of what is necessary these days. I mean, look at the McGregor Poirier. That happened because the two interacted with each other on Twitter, and the UFC didn't want to not be involved with it, and that's how we got UFC 257. So I don't know if it changes the game or makes it more necessary or less necessary, but it's definitely something that, especially, I mean, you look at who's promoting the event. Triller's a social media app. It's the American version of TikTok, from what I understand. So, I mean, it's kind of the new way of doing things now. People are staring at their phones more than they stare at anything else, sometimes more than TV. So,
it is a direct route for the fighter now. That's something that they didn't have, you know, uh, before Twitter, obviously, and even in the it's a way for every, same way we get a hold of fighters occasionally. You can get a hold of them on Twitter. The communication is there. So a guy like Ben Askren, who 10 years ago really wouldn't have had any voice in the sport any longer. He was a retired fighter. He would have faded off probably, maybe done some interviews. Now he can go on social media. He can take jabs at people, and it creates something like this. So I think there is something to be said about self promotion. The great fighters probably don't need to worry much about it, but I think this will allow some more fights to happen kind of organically, with dudes, talking smack, especially guys that are not under contract with the UFC. I think we could see a point where, you get more legends fights with, like if Bisping had a good eye, it's hard to believe that he wouldn't necessarily wanted to get kind of in this mix a little bit.
well, yeah, wasn't he one of the ones that got called out? I mean, Jake Paul must have not have done his homework on Bisping, because Bisping is known to run after people as soon as they say his name in a challenging manner. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it is what it is. That actually, I felt like that would have been more of a, less questionable fight. I mean, we checked the odds on that? I mean, I think Askren's currently the underdog on that, isn't he?
Probably, but you got to realize again though how odds are set. Odds are set to attract people to bet on a certain dude. And I would think that there's going to be not that much money coming in from the Askren side. I would think you're just going to get a ton of YouTubers betting on Jake Paul. So if I'm the gambling line, I'm probably want to make sure that Paul's the favorite, because I would guess the most money is going to be coming in on him. Because I don't think you're going to be getting a lot of the educated gamblers here. You're you're going to be getting dudes who have $20 in their PayPal account opening their first online bet thing to bet on somebody, I think is how it is. With that said, I probably wouldn't touch anybody with any money on it, for depending on what the odds are. But I you know Askren again, it's what have you done for me lately? So a lot of people are going to probably undervalue Askren.
Yeah, because of the losses. Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, the casual combat sports fan doesn't know about his accolades in Bellator and one. They know that he, got knocked out by Jorge Masvidal. They show it on the social media every 5 minutes. So anyway, that's I guess that's all we should say about that. Let's
it was something we didn't expect to talk about,
yeah.
but we appreciate the questions and obviously the viewership from up north of 60 watching on YouTube. This weekend we do get back some action now. Friday night we get the big BKFC Knuckle Mania event that we've been talking about, or rumored to be talking about, for a while. The debut of Paige Van Zant to the bare knuckled squared circle. We have the poster for anybody watching. The top 3 fights on the card: Paige Van Zant versus Britton Hart. Johnny Bedford defends his bantamweight championship against Dat Win, and Chris Lieben in a featured bout against Quentin Henry. 2 big hard hitters at that weight class. It's bare knuckle fighting, dude. It's Florida. It's the weekend before the Super Bowl. I I usually have nothing. I don't like, and I have no problem. I don't like that they're doing a regular pay per view. I don't like that this is $40 and not available on their app. We're pushing their app between Joey Beltran and Chris Lytle on the show. And then, I go around telling everybody to get the damn app. And then and then they cancel 2 events from COVID. And all of a sudden now we get a $40 pay per view. So my
Hey,
bad.
they gotta find a way to pay Paige Van Zandt. They got to make up for that money for all these contracts they're putting out. So, I mean, listen, it is what it is. It's the nature of the business. But I feel one thing about I mean, she's something about her talking about self promotion. I mean, she's been promoting herself for a while on social media. So this fight is definitely going to be if people this is going to be drawing in the way. I mean, this is like drawing in the casual combat sport fan to something that's always been kind of taboo, which is to me. I mean, we've talked about it before. It's always odd that people find bare knuckles so strange. I mean, it's just boxing without gloves and kind of like it's a little more bloodier, sure, but not for nothing. I mean, I wasn't too surprised when she made the move to bare knuckle. And the interesting thing was I just wrote the piece over at mymmanews.com was that she just found out herself earlier this week when she spoke to TMZ that the contract she has with BKFC leaves the door open for her to take an MMA fight if she wants to. So she's training at American Top Team for this. She's only focusing on boxing. I don't know much about Britain Hart that she's fighting, but I mean, I don't know if you've seen her fight before, and you've watched more bare knuckle than I have. But I mean, I'm kind of excited to see. I'm always excited to see how they kind of like when Paulie Malignaggi fought Artem Lobov. I was excited for that just because it was a true boxer coming into bare knuckle that has fought at the highest levels of boxing. So I'm kind of I don't know, man. I'm kind of I'm hoping to get a score code to watch this myself.
Yeah, it's fun. Like I said, I attended the one a few months back. It was out of control, crazy. I Britain Hart, her opponent. I've seen her fight, I guess 3 or 4 times now. She did draw Beck Rawlings and Christina Ferreira in her first 2 bouts, which she
Mm-hmm.
lost. But those 2 chicks or those 2 fighters are probably the 1 and the 2 ranked female fighter in BKFC. So that's a tough draw to come into. She did win her last fight at BKFC 14. She won by knockout in the 4th round. It's not the easiest fight for Paige Van Zandt. I was surprised but the way this fight unfolded, kind of WWE style, Hart came into the ring, challenged her, kind of a lot of nonsense, over the top, uh, stupid talk. But that stupid talk basically I don't know if it was always the plan for the fight, um, but it's a good fight. Hart's been through it. She's been bloodied up. Paige has obviously been bloodied up in MMA. BKFC, although like we don't understand why people hate it, it is its own ball game. It is
Mm-hmm.
something totally different. I see Spark Yuri on YouTube chiming in. Do you think Johnny Bedford's going to get that win? Nice little play off the words. I do think Johnny Bedford gets the win. He is 5-0 in BKFC. Um, Best record in the organization. Uh,
Is this Lieben's last fight? I mean, I thought I read something that this is kind of like him trying to walk away from combat sports for good
it,
after this one.
that's what seems to be the word, and seems to be like the way he's um, putting stuff out on Twitter and stuff about one last time and all that stuff. So I kind of hope it is. He had to retire a couple years back from MMA from the UFC for some health issues that apparently got resolved. And he's been fairly successful in BKFC. He's 2-1 um, in the not all with this promotion, but in his listed fights for bare knuckle. The dude he's fighting's a tough dude, big hard hitter. Coming off of he's got 2 wins in a row in BKFC. Um, it's going to be a heck of a fight. Obviously, pulling for Chris Lieben. He's living down here in San Diego now. He was doing some refereeing. Um, to me that fight is just one where I kind of just would like to see Lieben win, but obviously I always like to see brawls, but I don't want to see him take anything crazy. He's been through battles, but dude, he's getting into it right now, and I don't think he walks away from this without some serious damage.
No, and I would like to see him officiate and stuff more, like more big league fights.
Uh,
I think you need more former fighters as officials and referees and judges and things like that. I think that'll get rid of a lot of the bad judging and bad refereeing that we see. You
at
know what I
least you'll
mean?
have people that can answer for it.
Yeah.
If Lieben makes a decision that's controversial, I don't think he's going to duck away from trying to let people know what he saw or why he thought he saw it, or
No.
whatever.
Eh,
And he was doing a ton of refereeing out here, but with the damn COVID, we have there's
it's
no small
probably
MMA. There's no events for
yeah.
him to judge or to officiate right now. So, um, you know, if it's his last fight, man, the dude's been a warrior. I mean, I was there when he knocked out Vanderlei Silva, something I never thought I would friggin' ever see in my life. So, uh, the dude has just been a warrior since day one. But that's BKFC Friday night. Is it 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock start time?
9 p.m. Eastern, so that's 6 p.m. your time.
Yeah, I believe that's the start of the pay per view. The prelims likely start at 8 p.m. Eastern. That's what it looks like according to
I think they're on
Tapology.
Fight TV for free. The prelims before the pay-per-view
That's
kicks off.
usually the case. Usually they'll be. Right now they have what do I got here? 2, 3, 4. Yeah, it looks like there'll be 2 or 3 prelims, assuming nobody drops off. So there'll be 2 or 3
Mm.
free ones. Then the pay per view is available through your TV pay per view broadcasters and the Fight app. Is the easiest way I know how to get it. So that's Friday. I definitely have that on my calendar. And how do you want that main event to go down? Do you want to see Paige Van Zandt be successful, or do you want to just see her just get beat?
Um, no, I don't want to see her get beat. I mean, she's I don't know. I've probably told this story on the podcast before, but like I was one of these guys that was judgmental of her because of all of her, cutie pie stuff that she did and Dancing with the Stars. But in her loss to Rose Namajunas in UFC is when she won me over. She lost, but that's when I was like, this chick is not just another pretty face. She definitely not comes to fight and she likes to fight, and that's why I'm not surprised that she's doing BKFC. And it looks like she's focusing on all the right things. She seems reinvigorated and excited to do it. I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, listen, her striking was probably the best part of her MMA like to skill set. You know, before she walked away from the sport, she started getting more into jujitsu, and she even said that even though she trained at ATT, like when she signed this BKFC contract, she's been focusing exclusively on striking. So whatever she did good, she's only going to be better at. I know they call her 12 gauge Paige because something about her father liking hunting or something like that. But I mean, she's definitely somebody that moves forward and throws a lot of punches as long as she doesn't have to deal with takedown attempts and stuff like that, which is not something. I mean, I know BKFC kind of forces the action with that weird round ring that they use and stuff like that. There's not a lot of space for footwork or whatever. So I think it's right up her alley. Actually, I wouldn't be surprised if she does well. My only concern is she's got that weird arm of hers. She had that surgery. I'm worried about how fragile her bones are because if that happens to her arm more than twice, I'm wondering how her hands are going to handle the impact of going against someone's skull with just whatever the hell they use in Florida for BKFC. I know they make them use some weird kind of hand wrap that has the knuckles exposed still. We'll see. Whatever they did with I mean, they did that. I think Paulie wore those around his hands, and he still broke his hands. I mean, he's been known to have some pretty fragile hands himself. So I just hope that's not something that happens to her. But hey, all power to her for being brave and not she's doing something that most people to look at her would think she wouldn't do. So I'm excited for it.
Yeah, no, I'm excited. I'll be cheering for her. I do think she's going to have trouble in this first fight, though. I think the height, she's 3 or 4 inches shorter than her opponent. Um, and her opponent's, a scrapper, but we'll see. It's one of those things. I don't know if you can ever
The,
predict like how somebody's going to react to this.
I'm wondering if the experience that Hart has over her in BKFC, just having felt she's used to the ring, she's used to the setup, and she knows how it's going to feel on her hands. Whereas Paige is like, she's probably, these guys. I know we talked about it with Beltran when we had it on, and Lytle. They train as close as they can, but with the gloves on and stuff. But when you're in there and it's the skin on skin and bone on bone, and it might be different, when they do it live. So we'll see. I mean, that's the whole point of that's the interest factor in this, where we have to see it to see what happens. So
yeah, no, I'll 100% be watching, and I'd recommend all combat fans do. But for those that don't want to pay $49.95 or 40 whatever $39.99 on Friday, they can spend what $5.99 on ESPN Plus to get the UFC card as the UFC returns from a couple weeks away following the Poirier McGregor mega event.
so first event back in Vegas at the Apex, which is kind of cool. I mean, it's nice
Small
that they're
cage.
back home. Yeah.
Yep. Small cage. I like it. And for a fight night card, this one's a doozy, man. Because this is actually, there's a handful of fights. Just a quick shout out on the prelims. Justin James, who was a guest on the show, steps in late.
I know, like yesterday, right? They may announce that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Seriously, like in the last 48
It's
hours.
it's not even it's not updated on the website yet,
It's on
of
the
course.
UFC side. I'm looking at Tapology. He's fighting
Yeah.
Devontae Smith, who's 10-2 fighter. So best of luck to Justin James as he steps up. Molly McCann, I know you're a fan of hers. She is also on the prelims. Um, but
Lynch, who's been on the podcast, James Lynch, did a really interesting interview that I wrote about over at MMAnews.com. She with the COVID stuff and where she's at in the UK, talking about the horrible weather we have here. She's been dealing with it there, and she compared her training to training like Rocky IV, the way Rocky trained for Ivan Drago and Rocky IV. So, and that's talking about somebody that's that's just a banger. That's kind of like what she's going to be coming at this fight with. In that interview, she kind of said, like, before the fight that she suffered the losses from was because they kept trying to make her like a counter puncher or mold her into something that she wasn't. And they're like, her team just said, you know what, just do your thing when you go, and because that's how she got to the UFC. I don't know why they tried to change her, and apparently they woke up and saw that.
yeah, she's been on a little bit of a roll lately, though. So we will see if she continues that. Pretty much from the top prelim on, this card is borderline pay per
And
view.
I know we're showing the UFC's website, but they haven't updated it with the changes. Just real.
Yeah, so the Michael Johnson, the prelim fight that jumps out to me is the top one. Obviously, not the best records in the world, but 19-16. Michael Johnson faces off with one of the all timers, 35-20, Clay Guida. Again, the UFC website is off by multiple fights in their records, but it's talk about two dudes who have fought in everybody. These dudes, and their records show it, because you can only fight Gilbert Melendez and Khabib and Dustin Poirier and all these other dudes so many times before you start collecting some L's. But good fight, man. Two good guys of the sport. Two guys I've had the pleasure to meet, and both were friendly as all hell. Not going to pick a winner, but it's definitely a fight that.
I wish you could bet on whether or not Clay Guida is going to burp in between rounds if it goes more than one round.
There's a lot of potential in this fight. The grappling stats all lean towards Guida, but we know Clay Guida can be pulled away from his grappling if the right opponent's there and wants to be the second party. It's kind of a slugfest. So be interesting to see how that one folds. But it's a great headlining prelim leading into the main card. The main card then kicks off with a fight that I talked about a couple weeks ago when we were trying to break up the lightweight division following the McGregor Poirier Chandler and Hooker result. Diego Ferreira, Benil Dariush. Ferreira's 2 losses in MMA, one coming to Dariush and one coming to Dustin Poirier. So this is the first fight in a possible revenge tour as the number 10th ranked Ferreira fights the number 13th ranked Dariush in basically a it's not a title eliminator, but this is like the winner of this fight jumps into the mix. If there
Yeah,
is a tournament, the winner of this fight is at worst an alternate and at best moving into like the 6th or 7th spot, I would think.
yeah. I mean, it's one of those. Again, the lightweight division has certainly become super interesting. Um, just like everyone wants to see what happens with it. It's hard to even focus on what's happening. I mean, with the other title pictures, just because of it's we need to hear Khabib say it publicly, like, stop bothering me, I'm done. So we could really get kind of like a roadmap to what to expect with the lightweight division. But in the meantime, it looks like because of that, everybody is going to be looking to make a name for themselves, and this one should certainly be FOTN, Fight of the Night contender.
Yeah. So the one of the there's some this fight. This is a rare fight card where there's actually a couple very meaningful fights. That one fight is a lot. Did you scroll through it? Pantoja versus Mano Kape. Kape, the former Ryzen champion, makes his UFC debut after a couple other previous cancellations. 125 pounds.
It's another
Total
division, yeah.
total animal. The idea of what with a big win here, the idea of fights with Moreno and Royval and Figueiredo,
Yeah.
Benavidez, Tim Elliott. I mean, Mano Kape is somebody that's going to stir some stuff up. I don't know if he's ever going to become a world champion, but he's going to put out some damn highlights in his UFC career.
Oh yeah, for sure. That's definitely one that's probably going under the radar, and people, if you don't know about him now, you're going to know about him after Saturday night. That's for sure.
The co-main event, Corey Sandhagen coming off of his big. Let me double check so I don't fights. Coming off of his big knockout of Marlon Moraes. That was the night of BKFC when I was out of town, but he picked up the big win that night. Wheel kick knockout in a big return fight after he had lost to Aljamain Sterling in pretty rough fashion. So he returned, got his big knockout. Frankie Edgar, the always, what can you say? He's your Tom's River boy from your neck of the woods. I'm sure he's glad to be in Vegas this week and not
here. Yeah.
But we haven't done a ton of predictions. I know you're going to go with Edgar because you're just not going to pick against him.
Exactly.
There's nothing in any of that makes you think that Frankie Edgar should win that fight. But I'm gonna go with Sandhagen. I'm gonna go with Sandhagen by decision. I'll probably eat those words, but at some point Edgar's gonna start to, but we always find out their levels. This is Ricky Simone fighting, getting Uriah Faber last minute, the kind of thing, so we'll see. But god dang, I'd love to see Frankie Edgar win that. Talk about a future Hall of Famer. And then my boy, two of my guys, this is another one, man. Alistair Overeem, the combat legend, former Dream, former Strike Force,
67th fight,
G1, former champion of every Abu Dhabi. The dude cleans people out. And he's fighting off against Alexander Volkov, the former Bellator heavyweight champion. Whew, man, this is a fight, man. This is Reem going for his third win in a row. Would be his 5th out of 6th, and would really set him up for that final run at the title that he's talked about. And then you got Volkov, who had his tough loss to Blades.
But I'm looking at the odds, various odds, but it looks like Overeem's the underdog in this one. I guess because of his age and
Yeah, Volkov did rebound. He picked up the win over Walt Harris in his last bout. I'm going with Overeem. Volkov's dangerous. I don't know if he'll be able to knock out Alistair though.
Mm-hmm.
And right now, I think that's the only way you're going to beat Overeem. I don't think any of these heavyweights are going to really beat him on the ground, aside from like a Blades, who just has massive wrestling.
Yeah.
Uh, but I think the majority of these guys is going to be a stand-up fight. And while everything wants to say the younger guy should take the reins, I do believe Overeem's got one more little run in him right now.
And he just his I feel like maybe his experience gives him a little bit more ways to win versus someone like Volkov, who I don't want to say is predictable, but he's definitely, I don't think he's going to bring anything that Overeem hasn't seen before. The thing about Overeem to me is this: is he can always get caught, and he seems to his losses showing that when he gets caught, it's always by something, I don't want to say random or but it's always a shocking, like a lot of his losses are from getting knocked out.
Just massive
So
punches from
yeah,
massively big dudes.
yeah. So and this guy is obviously 6'7", if this
Hmm.
is right.
Yeah, no,
Um,
he's huge. I've stood next to him.
so it's one of those things that are that again favor Volkov against Overeem. But we'll see, man. I mean, to me, I say if Overeem doesn't get caught with anything significant by like second, third round, then it's his fight to win. But if he's catching, if he's taking a lot of damage as early on, it could be an early night. It might not see all 5 rounds. So that's a coin toss for me, man. I know the odds. I'm checking like random odds all over. I mean, they're not too
It's
different,
got to
but
be
they
pretty close.
yeah, it is.
My thing is, we might see Overeem go back shoot a takedown in this fight because Volkov's weakness is off of his back. Blades
Yeah.
held him down for the whole fight. When he lost to Ivanov, or no, Minikov in UFC or in Bellator, it was mostly on the ground. Volkov, while he's knocked out. I was at the ringside when he knocked out Mighty Mo, but it was with a head kick. Um, he does some body work, and a lot of times his kicks are what head. It's 6'7". He can throw that head kick. I don't know. I don't know. He doesn't seem to generally have the one punch knockout power. He's more of a communal. Add up the strikes, and then land the one big one. And while that could work on Overeem, I think Overeem avoids the big kicks. And like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if Overeem shot a takedown here. In fact, the smart play
Mhm.
probably would be to go for a takedown and try to work some submissions, especially early on in the fight when Volkov's dry. That might be the best way to try to get this over with
Yeah,
quickly.
especially if he gets that magic guillotine on him.
Yeah, that's what I mean. There's certain things there. Obviously, at 6'7", it'll be harder to throw a guillotine with somebody unless it happens in a scramble.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, it's a fun fight. This is two heavyweights. This is two legit heavyweights. And it's not a title fight, but these are the fights that I love. This is a fight that easily could have been taking place in Pride or any of these over the history of MMA. So I'm gonna go with Overeem. It's Overeem fight week for me, as far as I'm concerned. But you know, but I think it's gonna be a banger. That is this weekend, ESPN Plus. Man, so BKFC Friday, UFC Saturday, Super Bowl on Sunday for those that are into that sport.
Man,
Not,
I'm just what I like about the Super Bowl is I always like to go to a bar and watch it because of all the wing specials and shit and obviously can't do that. Not only is there a pandemic, but there's fucking 3 feet of snow on the ground that I don't know if it's gonna be gone by the time Sunday comes around.
well, when you question how idiotic your leadership is, realize that mine in California opened up outdoor dining, and then within hours of opening up outdoor dining, decided to ban outdoor televisions.
I saw
So
that.
yeah, so that I mean, apparently it'll be much better to send a bunch of drunks home to one house and not spread COVID, as opposed to them sitting outdoors, uh, in a controlled environment. But that's my little
Where the
rant.
weather's nice and you
Where the
guys can
weather,
still do it. Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
At least
Yeah.
they're not trying to force you to do it in this, which is actually something that happens out here.
Oh,
So
jeez. Yeah. Yeah. We'll end it right there. But fans can always check us out at allaccessmma.com for our video podcast, Anchor, Apple Podcasts, everything else for the audio version. Fans can check me out, Matthew Hawkins at MMA Hawk 21 on Twitter and Instagram. Follow Ed at Carbazol on Twitter, Carbeerzol on Instagram, and Oldhead Carb on Twitch. I don't think there's any way we don't have a lot of action this weekend and plenty to talk about next week, Ed. So enjoy the next few days and get ready to knuckle up on Friday.
yes, sir. See you next week.